Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on OWELEKETV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. I have a monologue this time, and the monologue is about Middle East. There is, as some of you may know, there is a controversy, a very recent controversy that just happened some few hours ago between the Israeli prime minister. I wouldn't say prime minister; it's not a personality between France and Israel, but I think I bring in personality there somehow. Macron, the president of France, actually make a very very bad judgment, as far as I'm concerned. Very bad judgment that attracted the wrath of the verbal wrath of the prime minister of Israel. And honestly, the comment Macron made was uncalled for. It was insensitive, in my opinion. It is very very reprehensible, actually. And the basis of that is it has to do with what Israel, the campaign, the war that is going on between Israel and the other seven fronts. It is very very insensitive of Macron to actually pick sides at this time. Now we shall actually talk about I shall give my comment on everything about both the comment and what Prime Minister Netanyahu actually responded to the president of France. I think I'm just trying to give you a preamble of the video I'm trying to play. I'll be playing right now. Play the video. So after that video, I'll make my comment. Let's watch.
Message. I have a message for President Macron. Today, Israel is defending itself on 7 fronts against the enemies of civilization. We're fighting in Gaza against Hamas, those savages who murdered, raped, beheaded, and burned our people on October 7th. We're fighting in Lebanon against Hezbollah, the most heavily armed terror organization in the world, which was planning an even greater massacre than October 7th on our northern border, and that has rocketed Israeli towns and cities for nearly a year. We're fighting against the Houthis in Yemen and the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria that together have launched hundreds of drones and missile attacks against Israel. We're fighting against terrorists in Judea and Samaria who are trying to murder civilians in the heart of our cities. And we're fighting against Iran, which last week fired over 200 ballistic missiles directly at Israel, and which stands behind the 7-front war against Israel. As Israel fights the forces of barbarism led by Iran, all civilized countries should be standing firmly by Israel's side. Yet President Macron and some other Western leaders are now calling for an arms embargo against Israel. Shame on them. Is Iran imposing an arms embargo on Hezbollah, on the Houthis, on Hamas, and on its other proxies? Of course not. The axis of terror stands together. But countries who supposedly oppose this terror axis call for an arms embargo on Israel. What a disgrace. Well, let me tell you this. Israel will win with or without their support. But their shame will continue long after the war is won. For in defending ourselves against this barbarism, Israel is defending civilizations against those who seek to impose a dark age of fanaticism on all of us. Rest assured, Israel will fight until the battle is won, for our sake and for the sake of the peace and security of the entire world.
All right, you heard that. Now, the response was Macron actually literally and publicly asked for an arms embargo on to be imposed against the nation of Israel, and that obviously everyone with sensitivity, the sense of belonging and sense of responsibility will definitely criticize Macron for what he has just said. Now, what an irony. The irony of what he said, what he's asking for the international community to do, the global community to do, thereby imposing imposing arm embargo against Israel is that incidentally, Israel is supposed to be the one actually to have an open and clear path to acquiring weapons of war, because they are the ones they've been under threat from the inception of the country. They've attempted. The Jews have been attempt. They have been at there was a very serious attempt to wipe the entire Jews away off the earth. They survived it by the special grace of God, by the power of God. They survived it and converged and reunited in the land of Israel right now, the current land of Israel. And yet, since then, the enemies of Israel has never they never relented. They kept planning and fighting tooth and nail to make sure the Jews and Israel as a nation is actually annihilated completely. But instead of that, what has been going on is that they have been expanding. Jews have been increasing and multiplying, and the nation of Israel has stood strong all these years. Not by their power, of course. Obviously, God has been the one protecting them. And back to the issue of Macron. Macron, what an irony that Macron will be fighting, kind of propagating for embargo to be placed on Israel at this moment. It's an irony because Israel, among all nations of the earth, are the ones that most need, that are most in need of this weapon. We all know that Israel has never, among nations, we have bullying nations. We have Russia, we have United States, we have China, we have Iran, we have Iran and their proxies. These are nations that are bullying other smaller nations. You did not call, Macron did not, including France itself, in the entire Europe. Macron did not call for embargo against these bullying nations that are bullying the smaller ones. China bullying Taiwan, bullying Hong Kong, US bullying other smaller nations in the Middle East, and Russia bullying Ukraine and the countries around it. Then we have Iran bullying the countries around them too. So that is the problem. In fact, Iran has succeeded in bullying Iraq into submission, and part of Iraq into submission, and part of Yemen into submission, and that is where they have their proxies that have been fighting against the nation of Israel. For God's sake, these nations are bullying nations that are bullying the smaller countries, the weaker countries. Yet Macron did not call for arms embargo against them, but calling for arms embargo against an innocent country, a country that has always been on the defensive since inception, since the creation of the nation of Israel. Israel has always been on the defensive. There's nobody, there's no offense. Even the so-called Palestinian, the West Bank they are talking about or whatever, which I do not believe belongs to Palestine, it belongs to Israel, going by the biblical map and biblical record. But let's even assume that the West Bank belongs to Palestinians. What has Israel done? Israel has done everything necessary to make sure life is comfortable for the people of Palestine. So there is the only thing that Israel has done, even against the Palestine, has always been to fight back, defend themselves. Palestinians are the ones who never accepted Israel to be on that land. As a result of that, they kept fighting Israel up to this moment we're talking about. So even the weak, even Israel is a defense. It is as strong as they are still a defense to the weak. The weakest of the weak in Palestine are fighting against Israel. All Israel does is defend itself. Israel has never been a bully even to their own neighbors. to the Palestine that they know they are extremely weak. They've never been bullies to them. They've given Palestinians all the opportunities and privileges and the avenues to live a better life. But Palestinians, in their own unreasonable, irrational actions or decisions, have chosen not to accept that and live in peace side by side with the Israelis. Sort of. So, which is basically, it is no longer Israel's fault. All they are doing is actually defending themselves. And that is what Israel has done. Israel, Israel, they've not colonized anyone, never colonized, never bullied anyone. All Israel has done, all its existence, all its life of existence, is defend itself. When someone needs to defend himself or herself, the person needs all the resources available. There should be no embargoes. There should be no limitations. There should be no restrictions, because anyone defending himself or herself is not the villain, is the victim. Israel has been the victim. I don't know why the West and their cohorts have actually, and the other part of some part of the Middle East, most part of the Middle East, have viewed Israel as a villain, when Israel has always been the victim. For God's sake, the victim deserves all the weapons of defense. The victim does not deserve any limitation to defend himself or herself or itself. So it is very, very ridiculous. It is shameful for President Macron in the first place. Although I don't expect anything less or better from someone like him, someone who married a fellow man, for God's sake. His wife, I don't know, for those of you who don't know, Macron's wife, who everybody thought actually is a woman or was a woman. Honestly, it was recently we found out, I think some few months ago, that this so-called woman was actually, it's not even was, because I don't believe in this transgender of a thing. It's actually a man who transited into a woman. So basically, the president is married to a fellow man. As far as I'm concerned, not even as far as biology is concerned, science and biology is concerned. They always say, all these crazy liberals, they always say, believe the science. Yet they are the ones who don't believe the science. They don't go by the science. The science that tells them that there are two sexes on earth, a man and a woman. Science that they don't believe in, that same science, they always tell people believe in science. Science that says that only women has womb. They don't believe that. They now say even men can have womb. Science that says that men cannot be pregnant, but they don't believe that either. Of course, they say men can be pregnant. That is the crazy liberal. You see, these people, they have lost their minds. These are the people ruling the world now, unfortunately. And these are the people with all this ideology are the ones actually ganging up. They are among those ganging up against the nation of Israel. This Israel, the war in Israel is between the devil and God, between darkness and light. That is just the reality. That is just the reality. And besides, they don't even want the West and the powers that be don't even want the war to end. They want it to continue, because the military industrial complex, of course, what do you expect? The manufacturers, the producers of weapons, or whatever, they want to keep making money. They can only make money. They only make money when weapons are being used and exhausted. That's when they make money. When there is no war, they don't make money. They don't earn money. There's no resources for them. So they make money. They become richer through all these wars. So they enjoy all these wars. And you can imagine, for someone to crazy President Macron, who I consider to be a weakling, to open his dirty mouth and say that embargo should be placed on weapon embargo, arms embargo should be placed on Israel. It's crazy, really crazy. When you have Israel, we have about 7. They are facing 7 war fronts. 7 war fronts from Gaza, from Iraq, from Yemen, from Syria, from Iran, from Lebanon. 7 war fronts from these 7 different locations. I can't. There is no country that is under threat, as much threat as the nation of Israel. There is no country as Israel that deserves to actually have all the weapons on earth in their arsenal. Yet this stupid, foolish Macron is calling for weapon embargo, arms embargo against Israel. He must be out of his mind. Let him call for arms embargo against the US, arms embargo against Russia, arms embargo against China, arms embargo against Iran. These are countries that are bullying the weaker countries. The man is out of his senses. And this is what I wanted to say even before, but because of I just got so mad at what this Macron did or said. Otherwise, this is the way I wanted to start. It was just to commend Prime Minister Netanyahu. Honestly, that man is. I think, in my opinion, I rate him as the best Prime Minister Israel ever had. Because he is a fighting prime minister. He's a prime minister who is not taking it, who is resisting all pressure from doing the right thing. He's resisting all the pressure, left, right, and center, especially from the greatest power, which is the US, that has been supporting Israel from inception, resisting the pressure to cease fire. And I thank God he's not resisting it and he's still pushing forward, because this is the time. Now, the truth is that the Bible says there is a time and season for everything under the sun. 2006, remember the Israeli Hezbollah war. There is an argument. There has always been an argument who won that war. Israel lost the war. Hezbollah won the war, whatever. And I was so shocked because I don't understand how Hezbollah will actually be a match to Israel. And that was what wondered, because then actually they dealt a serious blow to Israel. There's no doubt about it. That's why there is this argument who won and who lost. In my judgment, I think people just consider Hezbollah winning because they didn't lose. So technically they won. And Israel, they consider Israel losing because they didn't win. So if they didn't win, they lost. So nobody is talking about a stalemate here. But I understand that, because and I am on the both sides. I agree that the Israel lost and won, both sides or whatever. They didn't actually win that war. There's no doubt about that, because it was not decisive, because everybody weighed the both sides. Israel is far powerful in all ramifications than Hezbollah. So they were expected to actually just sweep them off their feet, sort of. But now, don't get me wrong, Hezbollah is a very strong, powerful terrorist group, organization. There's no doubt about that. They have sophisticated weapons. Iran is actually feeding them with all the up-to-date weapons. There's no doubt about that. However, they are not even close a match to Israel. And I believe it happened that way in 2006 because it was not time. It was not the season for God to intervene. And probably Israel was ill-advised then. But so this is exactly what is happening now. The winning, how Israel is winning this war now, could have been the same way in 2006. But it didn't happen then, because that was not the time. And I believe this now is the time to do what Israel ought to have done earlier, because you will ask, all these capabilities, Israel had it even years ago. But because it was not the time, God didn't open their mind up to all these initiatives to actually to be able to deal with their enemies the right way. So because this is the time, God gave them the wisdom, the understanding, the insight on what to do and how to do it. And that is why they are winning. And that is why God is using someone, because it is only someone like Netanyahu, who is dogged and radical, who is a very stubborn leader. Such a person can only be such a person is the type of vessel that God can use. Okay, God will always and can always use to actualize his purpose. Go through the scriptures. You see, notice that the great kings of the Bible that God used to actually actualize his will were stubborn kings, very stubborn kings. So the same thing with Netanyahu. That man is just is not only very, very active, doing the right thing. He's an orator. When he addresses people, when he addresses the world, he addresses the press, he addresses people generally. That man is an orator. He is charismatic. He is so eloquent and fluent and consistent in his policies and ideas, or ideas that I consider pragmatic and very, very rational. So that is it. The man is go watch his United Nations, the last United Nations speech he gave. He was right on point. And lately he's been taking it to the critics of Israel. Last week we had when he has, I think they've sanctioned a United Nations Secretary General who actually refused to criticize Iran's evil acts. Everybody knows that United Nations and the leadership of United Nations, they are all together with the West. They are all they've been a gang up. Initially, they were doing it on the ground, but behind the scene, behind closed door, or whatever. But lately, it's obvious, because they have now seen that it is obvious that these people, Israelis, are not going down. Obviously, there's someone behind them. Someone protect them. It's a supernatural power protecting them. As a result of that, everybody is people who were hiding their hypocrisy, pretending to be on the side of on the side of be fair. Those days, all of them are now coming out to show their true color, their true colors. That is the reality. The United Nations, everybody knows, the overwhelming majority of United Nations members, especially the leadership too, they are openly criticizing Israel. And because as a result of that, Israel actually sanctioned and barred the present Secretary General from entering Israel. So that is crazy. That's exactly what is going on now in the world. Enemies of Israel are just multiplying by the day. It is no surprise. It's biblical. And it's also biblical that they will not succeed. It's also biblical they will not succeed because the creator of the heavens and the earth is in charge. He's involved in this. He's interested in this war. They are, according to the scriptures again, to the Bible, Israel is the apple of God's eyes. That is what God said they are. And so that is just the reality. That is the reality. So Macron should go to hell. And his likes should go to hell. Just like Netanyahu said, that they don't need them. Without them, Israel will win this war. Israel has always won the war without the support of other nations, including even the US that has been supporting them. Israel can still win this war even without the US, because the battle is the Lord's. And that is the reality. The weapon of Israel's warfare is not carnal. They are not carnal. They are spiritual. That is the reality. So even the US, even if US does not support whatever, God will, Israel will still win because God is on their side. Because any war that God is involved in, it is not about physical weapons. It's about God's own weapons, which is the supreme weapon, the weapons that is above all weapons, or the weapons that are above all weapons. That is just the reality. So Israel, hold your peace, for the battle is the Lord's, and there is nothing anyone can do about it. Not even the United States, not even Macron, not the Middle East. Nothing they can do about it. And this is my angle.